Joining us today on MTMG's Connect to Work is Erik Wayton, a seasoned sales leader with a track record of building high performing teams and driving growth in the technology and HR sectors. As the SVP of Sales and Marketing at Extend My Team, Erik specialized in helping companies align people strategies with business goals. He's here to share insights from his career, leadership philosophy, and what makes him a standout candidate for his next opportunity. So, welcome, Erik.
Thanks, Paul. Glad to be here. Thank you for doing this. This is a great platform, I think, to help people and also give some insights into what we're all doing in the industry.
Exactly. It's been fascinating, and I know people are putting in resumes, and there's just such a flood of noise in the recruiting area right now. It's great to have a place to be able to show off you, the person, really authentically let people get to know you in a way a resume alone can't. So love
Yeah.
this. Thanks so much for
And
joining me.
video's worth, they say, 1,000,000 words versus, a picture being worth 1,000 words. So
Yep.
no, I think it's a great venue.
Perfect. So we'll get right into the questions. What moment in your career has taught you the most?
I thought about this and I really have to think it was the realization that you're not in this alone of like what you're trying to accomplish. And what I meant by that is that early on in my career, it was about like how much effort could I put into something? And I saw the direct correlation to, wow, outcome being income and success and promotion and things like that. But then I really flipped that over to where it's like when you started having that mindset from going from within to more external and realize that, hey, how can I really help my customers here? How can I really help build a relationship here? How can I really help the people that are on my team? How can I help them be successful or even in a different type of department or whatever like that? How do we all work together? Because at the end of the day, we're trying to all accomplish and do the things that we have to be able to do. So I think it was really becoming from a self attitude to more of an abundance attitude that by helping others obviously get what they want, you yourself can be extremely successful and happy and really take much more pride, I think, in what you're doing with that. And there's so many areas along the way that I've really had to be able to look at something like that over my career. As I was getting ready for this, I was like going over a lot of the jobs and people that you work with. There's just so many things that you can think about that you really take pride though also in what you've been able to accomplish and the number of people that you've been able to help.
I think that's a great, and starting from helping others and letting that be the lead is just such a great thing. I thoroughly agree. But that actually leads me to the next question, which is when your colleagues or team members describe you, what 3 words do they consistently use?
Yeah, I would think that I've tried to take a much more EQ approach and be much more aware of what other people think of me and such. And I've asked a lot of people over the years also. I think driven is one of the things that comes to mind. High integrity is the other thing that comes to mind. And just a relentless to, pursue perfection or to an outcome that always looking for the different type of angles or strategies or what are we missing? What are we not thinking about? So it's just a strategic thinker to help to achieve success.
Those are great ones to have.
No, I feel fortunate with that.
Outside of your professional achievements, what passion project or personal interest has taught you skills that make you better at what you do?
Yeah, I have 5 children. And so I think when you have that, and I'm lucky now that they're all grown and hence I can now sit back and take a different look at that as opposed to like being in the midst of it, of like worrying every day about how they're going to get through school and stuff like that. So when I look at like that becomes consuming for your free time when you have that. And so for me, for example, like taking pride in my one son who is a musician and seeing that he creates things, writes things, puts together the performance, booking. To me, it's a prideful thing, but then it's also taught me about how do you also take something that you are doing and have that passion for it, because that passion is what I think really drives a level of greatness that you want to inspire yourself, but also inspire others to be able to achieve that too. So I think by trying to support my family and my children, you really try to look at things differently from a perspective and then see like, how does that really impact us as people?
Hmm.
And I think a lot of times also, Paul, is I like to listen to different types of podcasts that might be like Dr. Huberman or whatever like this, to where you really pick up like how the mind works and where positivity comes into play, or the fact that you don't have to buy into the old adage of just because it's always been this way, it always will be that type of way, that we really do as humans have the power to achieve whatever it is that we want.
Hmm.
If we stop telling ourselves these internal stories, then you know what? We can actually focus on really where we want to be able to go. And it might be not only for helping ourselves, but also leaving a legacy for people that we worked with, or in my case, like for my family.
Hmm. Well, that's a great answer. And you skipped ahead a little bit there on me, but I love it. Can you tell me about a mentor?
I've had the pleasure of working with several mentors. And when you have a career of 35 plus years of like being in the space, I always have tried to pick up something from everybody that I work with. I know that maybe sounds like a cliche, but you really can. It's not about what didn't go right, but what did you learn?
Hmm.
And what's the doctorate, if you will, that I've learned in sales or leadership or dealing with people. And so there's several that really come to mind, but one of them is I'll say is a gentleman named Dan. That Dan was really one that kind of saw potential in me in my later career to really help me realize about working with me, showing compassion for supporting me in what I'm trying to do, being very forthright on really with clarity, like where can you improve? What are others seeing in you, and those type of things, to where he really had an impact on my, I think, career and where I was going. But then also it was very special because when he was talking once and he was receiving an award, he actually called out me as somebody that helped influence him. And so it wasn't just me receiving from him, but it was a symbiotic relationship where we really were helping each other. And I think if you just keep yourself open and more willing to be vulnerable,
Hmm.
that it's amazing what you really can achieve, as opposed to just putting up a wall to where you don't really, what do I need to learn from that person, really? But how can I learn from really anybody that's out there?
That's a great answer. And that sounds like it was a great relationship. So that's really
It
fascinating.
is, it is. And there's probably, I literally could go on about a dozen other people and probably write a different chapter
Hmm.
in a memoir about each of the different type of leaders that I've had. But there's something that you can pick up from everybody that really helps you to look at things differently, and to again, it's that abundance mindset that you always have the ability to try to learn something every single day and to get better and better and sharpen your sword, if you will.
Hmm. That's great. So you started answering, well, you answered this about a podcast, but are there any books that have inspired you or influenced you?
Yeah, there has been. One of the ones was the go giver mentality, and then the go giver leader, or the go getter. I have to, I'm sorry, I'm using
We'll
up my
look
other,
that up.
but it was a simple story that was actually written back a long time ago, and they've renewed it. But it was a story about somebody trying to accomplish the impossible. And this person had to go after this certain vase. But what he went through and the stories that he went through to try to achieve this type of thing without ever thinking about, like, well, I can't be done because I've hit a roadblock here or whatever. It was the foundation of my belief in being resilient and being agile to what we have to adjust all the time on everything that we're doing.
Hmm.
The other thing was The One Thing, of course, by the real estate leader and the other gentleman who wrote that. But it was really about how our mind works and about the power of focusing on, if you got to do anything today, you just focus on that one thing that's going to achieve you and get you closer. And everything else is just noise. And you kind of let those type of things fall away. But it was really a time management book that just
Hmm.
wasn't about a process, but it was more about why we have to do these type of things on that. The last one I just started reading that I'm really taking a great pride in is AI for the Leadership, and it's by Jeff Wood, an author here in Austin. And he flips AI on its tail a little bit to where it's not using it like Google, but using AI as a thought leader and as a partner, if you will, to where help me to work out the strategy and where I'm trying to go, and ask me the questions that I'm not asking you, but
Hmm.
to help me refine these type of things and getting to your results much faster. So I'm a big believer in leveraging technology as technology comes along. Obviously, that's what I sell for a living, is to help people to be more productive and to have better processes and to take that. But I think AI, we're just at the very beginning of really, I think, the impact that this is going to make on our business cycles and ideas and thought process. And so, however we can leverage it as leaders and people, I think is a great type of thing.
I completely agree. Completely agree. If you could spend a day learning from anyone, living or historical, who would that be and why?
There's so many different ways you can go on this. If I could obviously support and be side by side with Jesus, who else but could you better learn from as a mentor and adopt it, because you're going to, again, obviously be enlightened and achieve great type of things on that. But I also think though that from a reality perspective on that, I would have to say it would probably be a head CEO. And like back in the day, like when I sold like into financial services, Jamie Dimon at the time was an aspiring CEO who was really going up the ranks and stuff like that. But it wasn't necessarily them as a person, but it was about how do they accomplish so much in a day, and what do they really end up doing and how do they do it? But also, Paul, when they get those calls from the things that blow up either on the home front or whatever, how do they actually as humans be able to take this in, just into reality that I got to get these things. And the one thing we call those glass balls, you might be juggling a lot of balls, but you can't let the glass balls drop.
Hmm.
So I'd always would be intrigued of like how those type of people that you look from afar, you think that they manage hundreds of thousands of people and create lots of shareholder value, but they also put their pants on like you and I, one leg at a time every single day, and have the
Hmm.
same type of challenges and things like that also. But how do you really have that ultimate balance, if you will?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. When you find that answer out, let me know.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. We'd have a lot to talk about on a
yeah,
podcast.
we
That's
would.
the
Yeah, we
case.
would.
Mhm.
So, wrapping things up, what do you see as the future of your industry?
I think that from a sales perspective, especially in the B2B space, where you're at, that I think sales is going to become even more important. Obviously, I think how technology, for example, has been evaluated over the last 20 years, customers try to get much more educated and become an educated buyer. And we've gotten, I think, into a bad trend where it's like, if you have children or whatever like that, no one wants to ever pick up the phone anymore. They just want to operate through text and through emails and stuff. But I think it's by having conversations with people to really understand what are your challenges? Where are you trying to be able to go? What are those limitations to be able to do this? And just have the interaction of building a platform of trust. And I think that that's very hard to do, or that we've gotten away from that,
Hmm.
and showing a sincerity of interest in trying to help somebody, but also saying, hey, Paul, I can't help you, but let me make a recommendation of maybe where you could get this type of help or assistance. That in itself, I think we got to get back to that. We got to have the personal relationships. We have to be able to see each other face to face, and it's okay for that. Yes, I know we can fit a lot more things in with 15 Zoom meetings in a day, but there's nothing like the power of actually sitting down with somebody, seeing their business, walking around,
Hmm.
understanding what they want to be able to achieve and accomplish, and letting them know that they have an advocate in yourself as a professional to be able to try to assist them. Because I used to tell my kids would always ask me growing up, it's like, hey, Dad, like, what is it that you do? And I finally came up with this answer, Paul. I was like, you know what I do? I help people realize their dreams. I help business owners to take their business to the next level. And by doing that, they're actually changing the lives of other people that work for them and their families. And
Hmm.
I've helped them to eliminate heart attacks or take better care of themselves or get treatment for things. And they stood there and looked at me. It's like, oh, okay. That's different than, you know what, you're just helping people. But when you look at it though, I've probably helped over 1,000 companies, and then tens of thousands of employees have been impacted to make them more productive, differentiate themselves, spur new businesses, put that capital into it. That it's really about changing, I think, the lives of people that are out there.
Hmm.
So
I think that's great. And I always kid, it's a mic drop moment, but that was beautiful. That was really a great way to phrase it. And sales, the term, has such a negative connotation these days, and you've nailed it. It is That's exactly what we have to get back to, is the absolute consultative side of things. The, you know what,
right,
I'm not here to sell you something. I'm here to help understand if I can help you. That's it. And
absolutely.
if I can, fantastic. If I can't, I'll try to point you in the right direction. But
And show
unfortunately,
some genuine interest in what
yeah,
that person is saying. You know what? Pick up a pen and actually write down some notes about that. Ask them some clarity questions, on
sure.
these type of things there. See if am I hearing you correctly in what you said, Paul? Because again, at the end of the day, it's about clarity and connection and
Hmm.
and trying to assist that type of person with that. And I feel good about that. I feel good about helping my teams over the years. I feel great about helping my customers over the years. And guess what? If they don't want to be helped, I'm okay with that also. Because you
Sure.
know what? It just allows me to spend more time with the people that really do want to be helped.
Hmm. Well said. Well said. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll put all of these details in the show notes. We'll have your email address, we'll have your LinkedIn profile, all that stuff in there. So thank you so much for joining us. I hope this is helpful. And
Thank you for doing it.
absolutely happy to help. Happy to help. Take care.
Thank you.
MTMG, guidance that empowers.